The Galactic Museum of Primitive Weaponry on Vex Prime was considered one of the finest collections in the known universe, displaying artifacts from hundreds of civilizations across their evolutionary development, from stone tools to energy weapons. Curator Zex Thalen took particular pride in the museum's newest acquisition, a collection of ancient human weapons, dating from what humans called their 21st century. "Fascinating specimens," remarked Dr. Yex Miran, the renowned xenoarchaeologist, as she examined the display cases with her 4 optical sensors. Such crude metallurgy, yet the humans somehow achieved interstellar travel within mere centuries of using these primitive devices. The centerpiece of the human collection was an artifact the museum had acquired from a decommissioned human military vessel, something the humans had called an M1A2 Gaius rifle. The weapon was nearly 2 meters long, composed of what appeared to be simple steel alloys and primitive electronics. Compared to the sleek energy weapons used by civilized species, it looked like a relic from the Stone Age. The documentation indicates this weapon fires solid projectiles using magnetic acceleration, Zex Thalen explained to the gathered crowd of visitors, his tentacles gesturing dismissively at the display. Remarkably inefficient, the projectiles travel at merely 30% light speed and carry no guidance systems or energy payloads. The assembled visitors' representatives from dozens of advanced species clicked, chirped, and harmonized their amusement. The ethereal collective's ambassador, a being of pure energy contained within a crystalline matrix, pulsed with what translated as laughter. Such primitive thinking transmitted the ethereal, solid matter as a weapon? Our species abandoned such concepts millennia ago, when we discovered how to weaponize quantum probability itself. A delegation of Cytherian scholars examined the weapon with their advanced sensors, their findings adding to the general merriment. "The power source appears to be a simple fusion cell," announced lead scholar Vexthon. "The magnetic acceleration system is barely more sophisticated than the railguns our species used in our pre-civilization era." It was then that Captain Elena Rodriguez of the UNSC Pathfinder entered the museum's main hall, her presence immediately noticeable by the way conversations died around her. The humans had recently been granted provisional membership in the Galactic Council, but their reputation preceded them as species whose rapid advancement and unconventional approaches to technology made other civilizations nervous. "I hope you don't mind," Rodriguez said to curator Zex Thalen, "but I heard you'd acquired some of our old military equipment. I was curious to see how you've presented it." Zex Thalen's professional courtesy barely concealed his condescension. "Captain Rodriguez, we've endeavored to present human weaponry in its proper historical context. The primitive nature of solid projectile weapons demonstrates how far your species has advanced in such a remarkably short time." Rodriguez approached the display case containing the Gauss rifle, her expression unreadable. "May I ask where you acquired this particular specimen?" "From the decommissioned vessel, UNSC Retribution," Zex Thalen replied proudly. "Our acquisition team was quite pleased to obtain such well-preserved examples of early human military technology." Something in Rodriguez's expression shifted, though the alien observers were too focused on their own superiority to notice the change. "I see. And you've classified this as a primitive weapon?" "Certainly," Dr. Yex Miran interjected. "Solid projectiles, magnetic acceleration, fusion power source, all technologies our civilizations mastered and abandoned eons ago. It's a charming example of how young species must make do with crude materials and simple physics." Rodriguez nodded slowly, then turned to address the gathered crowd of alien dignitaries and scholars. "I wonder if I might request a demonstration. For educational purposes, of course." The request sent ripples of amusement through the assembled aliens. The idea that such a primitive weapon could demonstrate anything beyond obsolete technology struck them as endearingly naive. "Captain," Zex Thalen said, with poorly concealed humor, "while we appreciate your enthusiasm for human military history, I hardly think a demonstration is necessary. The weapon's specifications are quite clear." "Humor me," Rodriguez replied, her tone carrying an edge that made several of the more perceptive aliens step back instinctively. "I notice your museum has a testing range for weapon demonstrations. Surely you wouldn't mind showing your visitors how human primitive technology performs." 20 minutes later, the entire assembly stood in the museum's fortified testing chamber, protected by energy shields capable of withstanding antimatter explosions. The gas rifle had been mounted on a testing platform and aimed at a target composed of quantum-stabilized neutronium, a material so dense that it would require the energy output of a small star to penetrate. "Observe," Zex Thalen announced to his increasingly amused audience, "the inefficiency of projectile-based weaponry." Rodriguez activated the weapon remotely from the observation deck. The gas rifle's charging sequence began with a low hum that gradually increased in frequency. Several alien observers noted with scientific interest that their sensors were detecting massive energy buildups within the weapon's supposedly simple systems. "Curious," muttered Vexthon. "The power readings are significantly higher than our initial analysis suggested." The weapon fired. What happened next redefined every alien observer's understanding of human technology. The projectile didn't simply travel at 30% light speed. It accelerated continuously after leaving the barrel, somehow drawing energy from quantum vacuum fluctuations to reach velocities approaching 97% of light speed. When it struck the neutronium target, it didn't simply penetrate it, caused the ultra-dense material to collapse into a micro-singularity that devoured the target stand and continued expanding until emergency containment systems activated. The testing chamber fell absolutely silent. The documentation was incomplete, Rodriguez said calmly. The M1A2 gas rifle isn't primitive technology. It's a fourth-generation weapons platform that represents the culmination of 3 centuries of human electromagnetic warfare development. The simple projectile is composed of programmable matter that can alter its physical properties during flight. The crude magnetic acceleration system taps directly into zero-point energy fields. She gestured toward the still glowing crater where the target had been. The weapon you've been laughing at is capable of punching holes through planetary cores from orbital range. The reason we decommissioned the Retribution wasn't because it was obsolete. It was because we developed something even more effective. Dr. Yexmiran's optical sensors focused and refocused as she struggled to process the implications. But the specifications, the materials analysis, everything suggested primitive metallurgy and simple electronics. Camouflaged, Rodriguez explained. Human military doctrine includes extensive deception protocols. We've learned that it's advantageous to let other species underestimate our capabilities. What you interpreted as primitive construction is actually metamaterial engineering designed to appear crude to standard sensor analysis. The ethereal collective's ambassador pulsed with what its translator interpreted as profound concern. How many other primitive human technologies have we misunderstood? Rodriguez's smile carried implications that made every alien present recalculate their species' threat assessment of humanity. That would be telling. But I will say, every piece of human equipment you've acquired for this museum represents active military technology disguised to appear obsolete. We don't actually retire our weapons. We just make them look like we have. As the alien dignitaries filed out of the museum, with dramatically altered perspectives on human technological capabilities, curator Zex Thalen made a note to completely revise the human weapons display. The new placard would read, "Warning Human Military Technology. Appearance of primitiveness is deliberately deceptive. Handle with extreme caution. The weapon that had been a source of amusement became a reminder that when dealing with humans, nothing was ever as simple as it appeared.